introduce yourself and give us your presentation, please.
Okay, this is Barbara Johnson, Chief Deputy Register of Deeds. Mr. Youngblood sends his regrets, but he's not able to attend the call today. And also on the call is Jenny Wright, who is our financial officer and deputy.
Okay.
So since coming back from the COVID furlough, you know, we've struggled to keep up with all of our work, you know, because of the two types of leaves that people were able to take advantage of. That depleted our short staff even further. But we still, you know, press on. So staffing is definitely a big issue with us. And we do anticipate filling a couple of more positions after October 1st. Those have already been approved for our land records analysts, who are the individuals who actually record the documents. And then we have some indexer positions that are going to need to be filled, and a mapping technician. And those positions have been approved for filling after October 1st. So that'll help us somewhat improve our operations by having better staffing.
So are you open right now?
Yes.
What hours?
Our employees have been in the office working since May 1st. So along with that, you know, we do practice the guidelines of social distancing and wearing the mask and hand sanitizer, good hand hygiene. So we're trying to keep the employees safe. We did have a gentleman a company that had someone come around and do some wiping for disinfection purposes, but there has been a lapse in that work because of the contract expiring and the time to try to get the payments to the person for the work that was done before the contract expired. So as soon as he gets his payment, he'll resume the services again. So we want to keep the people safe by making sure everything gets sanitized properly.
Is it a big enough contract where the commission has to approve it, or?
No, it's $16,000.
Okay.
Very small.
But very important. Sounds
Correct.
good. Sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. If you have anything else.
I don't particularly have anything else. We still have our mortgage and deed fraud unit that continues to take in citizen complaints about alleged fraud against their property. But unfortunately, the courts had been closed, so the prosecutors had not been, you know, prosecuting the cases. But we still get people who call in, and we're making files for those people, so eventually they will have their cases reviewed.
Are they working remotely?
The prosecutors?
No, the unit. The fraud
Well,
unit.
we have a person who's an employee of our office who works in the fraud unit, and he has been back at work since May 1st when the rest of the employees came. So he's down there on a daily basis, but the other people in the office, investigators and the prosecutors, primarily work from home, and they come in every now and then in the office.
I just wondered because there's so many of us that can actually work remotely just as well as if we're sitting in our downtown office. So for safety reasons, I didn't know if they were working remotely as well.
Well, we would like for some of our employees to work remotely. At least we've discussed that possibility. The problem we have is we don't have any laptop computers.
That's all that's standing in your way is the laptop computers?
Right, and those are supposed to be in the big order that the Department of Technology asked for approval. I think they were before you a couple of weeks ago.
Yes.
To buy a lot of laptops for the whole county, and our request was mixed in with all of those because we had asked a while ago for the laptops. So I'm not sure where that stands when we will get laptops.
Okay, well, hopefully it will be soon because that went with that's going to be paid with the COVID dollars. How many people are you thinking that will come back remotely with a laptop if they do have that?
If we get the laptop computers, how many people do we think might work from home?
Right.
Well, primarily I think about 20 people, because some of the people still would have to be in the office to service customers. The ones who would not have to be here would primarily be indexers because they can do their work from any place.
Okay, right now, my understanding is that we're going to be calling everyone back 1st of October. So hopefully we'll have the laptops just in case they have to work from home. I'll open it up for questions for committee members. I don't see any hands up, but feel free to chime in. Any committee members? Do you have any questions?
If I might ask a question, Madam Chair.
Please.
Barbara, one of the answers to your a question that was asked said you had indicated that due to COVID-19, the volume of our business is anticipated to decline until the economy recovers. I mean, I can appreciate that. Most of your budget, actually almost the entirety of your budget, your $8.6 million budget, comes from charges for fees and fines. So my question is, if the revenue decreases, I don't know what the real mix is between fixed and variable costs of your budget. How will the decline in revenue affect the level of service that you anticipate to provide on a going forward basis?
Okay, I'm going to let Jenny Wright respond to that, our finance person.
Hi, Jenny.
I just want to get a gauge of how severe the hardship will be because of the decline in service, or the decline in revenue, I should say.
Maybe she has herself on mute.
Okay, let me knock on her office and tell her, hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry about that. The mute button on my phone didn't show I was muted.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. We've adjusted our budget in anticipation of the reduced revenue. I don't think our service is going to go down at all.
I'm sorry, since we waited a little while, could you identify yourself for the record?
I'm sorry. This is Jenny Wright, Deputy Register of Deeds Finance.
Okay. Go ahead.
In putting the budget together, we made the adjustments expecting that the revenues would be reduced. I don't think the services will be reduced at all.
So that the level of services we provide to the public will maintain at the current level, or not diminish in any way? That's what I'm hearing.
They may be slowed slightly, but I don't think it's going to make a difference.
Right, that's good news. Thank you. What about the restrictions on filling vacant positions? Is it just the restrictions, or are you inhibited in any way? A lot of times for other departments, sometimes we see where there are we may be at a competitive disadvantage. Is that the case also?
Well, for those, this is Barbara Johnson speaking. For the positions of land records analyst, the reason we were restricted in filling those positions is because of the COVID situation, because we had 3 individuals we had interviewed and had offered jobs to, and they had, 2 of them had, their appointments had actually been approved, and they were given a start date, and the third one, hers, had not been approved. But then when we returned to work, we weren't able to bring them in to start working because of the freeze on filling positions. So we were able 2 weeks ago to bring one of those people in, and we are approved to fill 2 other positions, but now there has to be an exam to get candidates to fill those positions. And the problem we have with Indexer is more that people are not able to pass typing tests. So that's a component of the indexing exam. So if they can make that hurdle over passing the typing test, which is set for 35 words per minute, but there also is an accuracy test that goes along with that, where you have to actually enter data into fields, which is more like what the indexers do when they're in the office. And we have been trying to fill indexer positions since back in October 2019, so that's been a struggle for us, is getting qualified people that can pass the test and actually enter the data. Mm-hmm. But along with that, we also were not able to at least place the one person who had passed the qualifications at the time because of the hiring freeze. But again, all of the positions that we requisition have been approved for filling after October 1st.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Are these inside positions, or are they contractors' positions?
No, these are employee positions. They're all in Local 1659.
Okay. So we are having, or you are trying very hard to bring those employees in and not hire outside people.
Right. There's going to be a promotional exam for the land records analyst soon. As far as the indexers, now that one is in a recruitment where employees and people from the outside can apply. And that's just because we have had a situation where we just did the promotional for indexers. That's the one where the people aren't passing the typing test. And we went through the long period, because you have to have so much time that you allow after the announcement before the exam, and then more time afterwards if anybody actually takes the exam to appeal. So that's a large time interval that has to pass, and then exhaust that before we could go to the outside. But with the recruitment, people inside and outside the county can apply for it, which gives us a bigger pool of people to at least schedule to take the typing test.
Okay, so these people may be ones who are now currently laid off, but will be coming back and they can apply or take the test or whatever, and they will be given first choice. And
then there's, I think, after October 9th, I believe, if a recruitment's not actually issued by then, a promotional exam will be given.
Okay. Well, thank you for the clarification. Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Barbara, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
I just wanted to ask you along the lines of what you were just talking about. When are you going to be having a recruiting fair or hiring fair or whatever you want to call it? And are we casting a big net all across the county?
Well, the land records analyst exam is actually a promotional exam. The announcement went out last week, and it 10 days from the point that it was issued, employees throughout the county who meet the qualifications that are in that announcement can apply. And
Okay.
once they apply, if they pass the test, we have an opportunity to interview some of them and offer them a job.
But I know
There is one classification that we did have some problems filling, and that's our mapping technician. And these are the people, well, there's only one person over in that area now who actually does the type of legal descriptions where he has to make sure that the point of beginning matches with the ending so that you have a complete description. It's not your standard type of description for property. And so we had a difficult time trying to recruit for that position. And what we had interviewed, the county had given an exam. One person had passed it, but then in the end, he really didn't want the job. And so working with personnel, we were able to create a training program for people within our office to bring them some skills that would help them to take the exam for the mapping technician. So that worked very well, and 6 of the people actually passed the test. But of course, COVID came, so the second part of the test, which is the oral exam part, was never completed. So we're waiting for that to take place so that we could go ahead and fill that position.
All right. Thank you.
So the people that did apply, but they did not make it, and they want to take, say, a refresh online course or something to get better with typing, they are aware that they can do that and come back and perhaps take it again?
I'm not sure what personnel tells people, but as far as I know, there's no restriction. People can take the test again.
Okay, well, that's what I would encourage someone who, like myself, probably could use a little refresher on that. Alrighty, well, thank you very much. Any other commissioners or commission staff have any questions?
Madam Chair,
Yeah.
one last question. Barbara, I guess you would be the right person to ask about this, but how are we doing as far as the digitizing of all the information that your office has?
Are you speaking of the track books?
Yeah, the track books, and weren't we in process still for getting deeds and everything on, or are we 100% now?
Well, whenever someone records something in the office, it is scanned into the land records database, so it is a digital record. And what we were doing along with that digital record, because no one really knows how long a digital record will be safe into the future, we're following the state of Michigan's best practices, and all of the records that are digitized are being placed on microfilm by U.S. Imaging, because the state says that that's a backup form of protection for these public records. So we're doing that. And as far as those track book goes, we had those scanned by CoFile Technologies a while back, and they did create an index for us so that we can find the information in an easy manner within the office.
So everything is proceeding still, or has been completed with everything as far as?
Well, the track books, the digitization of that was completed, but as far as the land records that are scanned into our land record system, that's going to be ongoing, you know, where as soon as they digitize, each month we send to the company the images that are digitized, and then they put those on microfilm. And hopefully there will always be an ongoing project to protect the records until some better technology comes along.
But as far as the older documents, we're caught up in it. Is that what you're saying? We're caught up and the only ones we're doing now is the ones that are being processed at the current time?
The records that we accept for recording and are in our land records database, it's fluid. It's added every time someone records a document. The volume keeps increasing, but as of we're usually almost a month behind in getting those scanned to microfilm, but it will be an ongoing project, and we do, plan to renew our contract or send out an RFP whenever that contract expires.
Okay, all right, thank you.
I think the question that Commissioner Anderson was trying to get to is, are we still having documents at the Vigliotti building or wherever we used to store them?
No, we don't have any records at the Vigliotti
Okay.
building. We have removed our records from there quite a while ago.
That's what I was trying to get at, that we
Right.
are not storing them anymore, that you're trying
We do.
to.
We did have some like older microfilm and a small amount of records that are in storage, but they're at the facility of U.S. Imaging where they can be secured in a environmentally protected method.
And that's out of state anyways. Nothing here in Wayne County is being stored.
Right, it's in Saginaw,
Oh,
Saginaw, Michigan.
Thanks,
Okay.
Madam Chair. That was, Madam Chair, that's what I was trying to get to.
I knew that.
I was looking for,
Sorry.
are we all caught up with all the records that we have currently that are older records, not what's in process right now? I mean, I know we're doing that, but I'm just looking,
Right.
are we still paying storage charges somewhere is what I was trying to get to.
Yeah, we're still paying storage because along with the records that are digitized being microfilm, we do have to store them in an environment that meets the standards for preserving microfilm.
Indefinitely?
Yes, because it has to be, they have to follow SAE standards, so that it has to be a certain humidity, it has to be certain lighting in the area, it has to be a facility that's secure, that there's going to be pesticides, some type of pest control. There's a series of things that have to be met in order for that facility to store microfilm. It has to meet some standards for fire protection, and U.S. Imaging is the close facility that met those requirements.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Anyone else? Well, thank you, Ms. Johnson. Give our best to the Register of Deeds. And
Okay.
hopefully we might see him on the day when we pass the budget.
Okay, I'll let them know. Thank you.
Alrighty, Madam Clerk, on to the next item, please.
Item 2, Circuit Court.
Good afternoon. I see the Honorable Timothy M. Kinney. Are you going to make a presentation?
Good afternoon. Yes, I would be happy to, and thank you for the invitation, Madam Chair, and good afternoon to the other members of the committee. Having had the opportunity to listen to the questions and the concerns that were raised with regards to the Register of Deeds, I think that it's safe to say that there is an interest in finding out how the Third Circuit Court has adapted to the COVID issue. And I'd like to take a few minutes to give you an overview about how the court responded and where we are and what the roadmap looks like as we move into the near future, as uncertain as that may be.
Please do.
As we all know, on March the 16th, our normal business practices, as we know them, came to a screeching halt. And as a court, we were, pursuant to the governor's executive order, we were directed to identify what were our essential services. And then gradually, as the weeks and months have unfolded, we have been able to do more and more. I think very commonly, the expression that has been out there is that the Third Circuit Court has been closed because we weren't allowing the general public to come into the courthouses. And the reality is we weren't closed. We never closed. We continued to perform essential functions. And then, thanks to our excellent IT staff and the technological developments that we've been able to keep up on, and also everyone's willingness to learn and to learn quickly, we shifted into remote operations. So, for example, in our civil division right now, which is located in the KMAC building, we have been very successful as the weeks and months have developed, where judges and judicial assistants have been able to work remotely to a great extent. We have become more and more expert, as I think everyone has, in the use of Zoom, and that we have been able to conduct in our civil division settlement conferences, motions, cases have been resolved, cases have been settled without attorneys and parties having to come to the courthouse. The civil division has been able to accommodate a great deal of their function, with the exception of trials. In our criminal division, we've been able to, what we have concentrated on most frequently have been those individuals who have been incarcerated in the Wayne County Jail. We've been handling those pre-trials. We've been able to handle some pleas and motions. We have not been able to handle trials, but we're going to start them on Monday, and I'll talk about that in just a moment. In the juvenile division, certainly a great concern that the court has had, as anyone would expect, are issues of abuse and neglect hearings, which needed to be handled. And our juvenile staff has responded very quickly and very admirably, and we are able to handle many of these abuse and neglect hearings remotely. In our family division, we have shifted so that now we handle personal protection order applications, pretrial motions, post-judgment hearings remotely as well. So we have, in fact, been able to be protective of our staff and also serve the public in a very substantial way. Certainly, there's a concern about the friend of the court and how we handle friend of the court business. We don't have the customer service window open where people can walk up and have their questions answered, but now we have a call center with voicemail as well, where staff will answer the phone or respond to voicemail messages so that there is friend of the court staff interaction with people seeking answers to their questions. We have resumed the outreach offering that we have had, which we usually do once a month. That's being handled virtually or by the telephone. And instead of relying on the self-help centers that we have established in recent years, we have in fact been referring individuals to Lakeshore Legal Aid and the Booth Legal Aid Clinic so that people can in fact get assistance as best they can. With the committee's permission, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what we're going to be doing come Monday when we start to resume jury trials, and how that, is that okay or no?
Yeah, that's fine. Did you have any issues with staff having COVID?
We have had a few cases of individuals having COVID, but it has been very few. Very few. One of the things that we did, Commissioner, very early on was we instituted the CDC symptom checklist. And we required that any of the essential staff that were coming into work did in fact have to answer on their cell phones or on their computer at home, whether or not they had any of the symptoms. And that certainly addressed those concerns. I think that was a big help for us. I think our shifting to having employees work remotely as much as possible also was in fact a benefit. We did in fact also institute a little while ago the notion of the touchless thermometers that would take people's temperatures before they came into the building as well.
I understand that this is not going to be a question really related to you, but I understood that some of the clerk's office, they've been working physically, but they were not allowed to work remotely or given equipment. Did any of that, I guess, reflect or have any adverse effect on the courts?
Well, there has been a shortage of courtroom clerks that have worked in the courtrooms. That certainly has been an issue, most specifically in the criminal division. But in terms of the county clerk's employees who have not been able to work remotely, the answer to that really lies with a requirement that has been set down by the Michigan State Police and the FBI. Our case management system is one that combines all divisions of our court. And the state police and the FBI have indicated that if there is anyone who is going to have the opportunity to look at or come in contact with our case management system, that there is law enforcement information network, LEAN information that's in that system, and that there has to be some sort of management control agreement with every department that comes into account. Now, the county clerk's office and the court have been for years unable to reach that agreement, and that that's something that is working close. We're getting much closer to being able to work something out, I believe. But the state police and the FBI have indicated that in the absence of that management control agreement that the court would have with the county clerk's office, that they would reach out and wipe out all of the outstanding warrants that are in the system. And they did that to 36 District Court in 2013. And we just couldn't afford to do that. So that's where we are.
Thank you for that. Before we move on, Commissioner Baidoon would like to ask a question, and then we'll continue. Go ahead, Commissioner Baidoon.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Judge Kenny, for being with us today. Judge, I had several of my colleagues in the real estate business contact me they were concerned about the time that it's taking for probate court approval if they're selling properties. And I know you're probably short-staffed and because of the COVID-19. Anything that I can share with my industry in terms of people who are trying to probate properties, if they want to put them on the market, should they be doing anything differently? What could I share with them?
I think if, Commissioner, if there are questions or concerns about probating matters, that's really a matter I think that's best taken up with Chief Judge Burton, the head of the probate
Okay.
court, rather than with our
No.
Third Circuit.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you. Thank you.
If you would like, I would be happy to pass on the concern to Chief Judge Burton and have him get in touch with you. I would be happy to do that for you.
Yes, if you don't mind, please. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead and continue your presentation.
All right, thank you. On Monday, the 21st, this coming Monday, the court is consistent with the Michigan Supreme Court's protocol for a return to full capacity. We are beginning to open up and try jury trials again. We are going to begin in the criminal division. We have 19 judges who do trials in the criminal division, and we are only going to start with 2 courtrooms. And we are going to proceed slowly and cautiously, but we think that we have done a very good job. We've been in close contact with Carol Osterberry at the Wayne County Public Health Department. We have consulted with her. We have, in fact, put up the appropriate safeguards. So starting Monday, anyone who's a juror coming to the building for jury service will first have to be screened by a healthcare person at the front door. Their temperature will be taken with the touchless thermometer. They will and then be asked the CDC questions about COVID symptoms. When they come in, if you have ever been to the Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, you know how big that jury assembly room is. It holds up to 175 people. We have reduced that size, that seating capacity, to 65. All of the seats are 6 feet apart. And every juror who comes in will get a little kit in a bag that will have extra masks. They will have wipes that they can use, and they will also be provided with gloves. They will be escorted to one of the 2 courtrooms that we will be utilizing. They have plexiglass that are there to protect them from other parties that are in the courtroom. Also, they will deliberate in that courtroom. That will be their jury deliberation room. On behalf of the court, we are very grateful for the fact that the commission approved extra pay for jurors so that we can hopefully incentivize people to come down and serve so we can begin to deal with the backlog that we have. I would indicate, for the benefit of the commissioners as well as anyone in the Wayne County area who would be coming down for jury service, we have on the court's website, which is 3rdcc.org, there is a 3-minute video that walks through exactly what the jurors' experience will be from the time they get to the front door until the time they get to the courtroom. We have taken every precaution we think that is appropriate, and we are going to proceed cautiously. We're going to debrief after a couple of trials to see what we need to improve on and what needs to be done. But this is one more step in our way to getting back to full capacity and full service to the Wayne County community, but we're not going to do it in a way that's going to jeopardize the public health. Okay.
That's it?
That's it. That's it. That's it.
Okay, well, that sounds awesome. It's good to start slow to find out where you are, and I think it will make the community feel a lot safer too. And hopefully people will go down and participate in the jury process.
I would also indicate, Madam Chair, that in the summons that we have sent out, we recognize that there are people who are going to have their own medical vulnerability or a family vulnerability, or it may just be very, very anxious about having to come down for jury service at this time. We are taking a very lenient approach to people. We don't want people to be frightened when they come down to serve. We want people who come down to be willing to serve, and we think that having that opportunity to sort of have your service postponed right on the summons is a big help to people.
Well, thank you for that. Any questions by other members or staff? I see no hands raised.
Yeah, Madam Chair, this is Mark Abbo.
Mark Abbo. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is a question, I see that Kevin is on the line, probably for M&B. We did get some responses to our questions late yesterday, so we didn't really have an opportunity to dig into them deeply. But there was something highlighted that talks about a technical adjustment that may be coming that deals with the agreement that the county has with the Third Circuit. And I'm wondering if that is consistent with what I'm seeing in regards to the Third Circuit's budget. There's a reduction in allocation from general fund and a similar reduction in services and contractual services of a similar amount, approximately $8.5 million. I don't know that that's necessarily a cost reduction, so I'm guessing that we'll be seeing that remedied in the technical adjustment or through budget adjustments on a going forward basis. Is that incorrect, Kevin?
Yeah, that's basically what we're doing. Is when we did the budget, when I came in to help with the budget, there was not a long window of opportunity to go through all the budgets. So as I said at the very beginning of the process, just bear with us. We're going to get through budget adjustments and technical adjustments. And this is one of the areas that we had to fix. Now I've had, and I think Lynn Roberts is on the, probably on the phone as well, but Lynn and I have had extensive conversations, and we pretty much isolated where the problems are. We fixed the problems. I showed her what the technical adjustment's going to look like. She's in agreement. It's something that she can work with. So it should be good to go. The changes are the reductions in the contractual services line. That was basically a plug to get me to my number. And in real life, it was probably going to come out of other areas of her budget. But and at the end of the day, she's supplementing the agreement with fund balance within the 835 fund. So I think her and I are both in agreement, and it should be fine once we get it done. Once we get the technical adjustment done.
All right, very good. Thank you, Kevin.
So when is that coming?
I've got to finalize it with Mia, the analyst that's in charge of the courts, and we're going to try to get all of the technical adjustments in for you guys for Monday, which means we'd have to get them done by tomorrow. We're going to try to get that done. If not, it'll be for the Tuesday meeting, maybe. It's just a question of how many are there and getting them reviewed and dotting the I's and crossing the T's. So, and then getting to make sure that they work within the ordinance. And as Terrence would know, that's always the difficult part, is getting the changes into the ordinance. So,
Yeah, I mean, again, this is, the question kind of goes back to what we had spoken with the Register of Deeds, quality of services, because it's even more imminent with the Third Circuit. Quality of services, basically translates to justice. So we just want to make sure that, the Third Circuit is efficient, effective, and has the resources that they need to conduct their business properly.
Thank you. We do too.
Alrighty, we'll look for that. And any other questions, or do you have any more comments on this, Kevin?
no, not the Third Circuit's budgets. The technical adjustment's going to hit the Third Circuit, the 835 fund, and the general fund, obviously, because we have to provide a little bit more funding. We have to provide more funding. And we're also going to make a change to the 836 friend of the court fund. And again, I've passed those changes that we're going to make to Lynn, and again, I'm not speaking for Lynn, but I know she's on the line trying to figure out how to work this mute button, I'm sure. But we're pretty, I think we're settled with, her and I are square with what we need to do for the court's funds.
Now, Lynn, I know you know the mute button. I'm not going to let Kevin get away with that one.
Yeah, no, he can't get away with that. Lynn Roberts, Chief Financial Officer for the Third Circuit Court. Yes, Kevin and I have been working on our budget and in accordance with the work we've been negotiating with the county, and it is it minimally services our operational needs at this time.
Thank you. It's probably good to work with old colleagues again, huh, Kevin?
Oh, yeah.
Kevin, Mark, and Lynn.
As opposed to sleeping in and playing golf,
You gotta
Soon
have
enough,
a little,
Kevin. Soon enough, Kevin.
yeah.
you gotta have a little joy in life. So this is it for you right now.
Yeah.
Tongue in cheek. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much for both of you for working so hard to get it to us as soon as you can. Judge, thank you very much for your presentation, and
Thank you.
look forward to better times, and good luck with opening up on Monday.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Any other questions before I let them go from commissioners? Okay. In that case, we're going to go on to the next item.
Item 3, Treasurer.
Treasury. I know that Mr. Treasurer is here, Eric Sabri.
Yes. Good
There you
afternoon.
are.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair.
Good afternoon. Welcome.
Yes.
You have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. I wanted to say thank you for the opportunity to present today. I have with me on this Zoom call the Chief Deputy Treasurer, Jean-Pierre Adams, our Deputy for Finance, LaShonda Thomas, and our Investment Manager, John Kravitz. And they'll contribute to this presentation as soon as I give you a quick summary of what we're doing in the Treasurer's Office. I wanted to say that, COVID-19 has affected us all, as you know, and we had to close our offices on March 13th. And we reopened to the public on June 17th. But during that time, that almost a little more than 90-day period, our office continued to work. We had a number of employees still coming into the building and adhering to the social distancing guidelines and answering the COVID-19 related questions, the questions to make sure that they were not having symptoms and so forth. And then we had a number of employees working at home. So our office continued to work during that time, even though we were not open to the public, because all of you still got paid, and so we were working. We have right now about 40% of our employees.
I should say thank you.
Right. Thank you, thank you.
About 40% of our employees are either furloughed or have been displaced to other departments. So we are working with we're short staffed as most departments are. We experienced in the first couple of months, the first 2.5 months, about a 45% reduction in collections. But the collections have rebounded, and since we've opened, and not because people can come into the office, but because they're using the online payment system. They're paying online. Our online payments have tripled, and our kiosk payments have doubled since June. So we went to an appointment-only system in the treasurer's office, so that you have to make an appointment. It's very simple to make. You can go to our website, treasurer.waynecounty.com, and it takes about 2 or 3 minutes to make an appointment. We can see 8 people every 10 minutes, and it's working really well so far. Our call center is down to about 30% of the capacity. We have 4 people regularly answering the phones. We used to have 12. So we also encourage people to email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com. And the email is working really well. We will respond to all emails. We have responded to all of them. If people email us and put their phone number in the email, we will call them back. So even though our call center is short-staffed, we're still able to communicate with most taxpayers through the email. Let's talk about our investment income. Last year we had a record of $12.7 million in interest income. This fiscal year, which ends in less than 2 weeks, we should see approximately about $10 million in investment income. As interest rates have gone down, we know that next year our interest income is going to be very low. It'll probably be in the neighborhood of $2 to $3 million. So there's a huge difference from the last fiscal year and the upcoming one. And you may have some questions about that. And John Kravitz, our investment manager, he can speak to that. Our foreclosures and the subsequently the tax auctions did not occur this year. The deadline was extended. We went to the Third Circuit Court. Judge Kenny granted us an extension till 2021 for those who could have been foreclosed this year. Our efforts are focused on reaching the taxpayers early and often so that they are aware of the individual delinquencies that they have, their issues, and the programs that are available in our office to assist them. So we have some reductions that were made to our budget, and LaShonda Thomas, our Deputy for Finance, will speak to those that are related to forfeiture foreclosure, and they should not have been, our amounts should not have been reduced because the work that we have to do is statutory, and that forfeiture foreclosure fund is not subject to a reduction in the budget. So I would like to ask our Chief Deputy, Jean Vieira, to talk about some of the precautions that we're taking with employees and with the public and in our office.
Thank you, Treasurer. This is Jean Vieira Adams, and as the Treasurer stated, I'm the Chief Deputy Treasurer. Some of the precautions that we've taken and projects that we've implemented during this time is of course, the screening of all of the employees before they come in. We allow them to do an electronic screening where they email us before coming to the office to assure that they don't have any of the symptoms. We have not yet implemented a temperature taking protocol, but we have ordered a scanning machine, touchless, so that the employees over the next week or so, when they come in, they will go to this screening kiosk, if you will, and step forward, and it will say pass or stop based on what their temperature reading is. So that will be implemented very shortly. And we anticipate that we may even use that for our taxpayers as our volume increases with our show cause hearing dates coming up and personal service for the 2018 delinquent taxes. We also have hand sanitizers throughout the office. It was something that we implemented early on when we first heard about COVID-19 on the West Coast. We put in a number of hand sanitizers available to the public and the employees. So that's been working well. Of course, we have signs throughout the office reiterating the need to sanitize and wash hands. We have social distancing in our cashiering area, and that is one of the areas where we have reduced staff. So at the at each of the registers, if you will, we now have alternating registers to assure that we maintain social distance between staff there. The same thing with our call center. We've decreased the number of staffing in that area so that we can assure that they're safe there as well. The appointment system that the treasurer mentioned earlier, that's something that we implemented to avoid having lines, as we frequently had in the office. The middle of the month and at the end of the month, we would have increased volumes where taxpayers would stand in lines. They were close to each other. And with the appointment system that has been working quite well, it is very rare that we have a line of more than 2 people in the office. The cashiers love it, and the taxpayers and our customers love it. We also use the appointment system for our deed certifications, and that's working well, and with our taxpayer services. So if taxpayer comes in with a question and they want to meet with someone, they do set up an appointment online, and our staff meets with them as well. We have lots of PPE available for staff, and we require that they use it and take advantage of the sanitizers. At each station in the cashiering area, it's with the cashier and also on the public side. So the public, we ask that they clean their hands as well while they're here. We've mandated the mask as well in our office, and we have had no issues. I mean, I don't think we've had one complaint from the public about coming in with a mask, and we've had no one ask for an exception. So it's gone very well. And going forward, we want to continue with the appointment system. We're probably going to have to increase or decrease the number of appointments available, because we anticipate that the taxpayers will be coming in now less for making payments and more to enter payment plans, which would cause them to have an increased interaction time with our cashiers. But we are going to continue to implement the appointment system as much as we possibly can. I think that's it on our precautions. Treasurer, was there anything I missed?
No, that was it. That was great. Thanks, Janvier.
Okay.
How's the
Appreciate it.
traffic on the first floor, having to share that with all the other traffic? Do you find issues going up and down the elevator and being able to be social distance? Because I know you have the register of deeds and then you have the treasurer as well, besides the public using that space. How's that going?
In the beginning, we had some logistical difficulties. We were on the first floor checking in the taxpayers with the Register of Deeds and the clerk's office, and it was very crowded. So we just moved our check-in center up to our 5th floor, and that eliminated all of the traffic for our office. And I think that the clerk's office did the same thing.
Yeah.
I know that they have implemented the same appointment system that we found first, and now it's spread throughout the building, and it's working quite well. There's very little traffic congestion in the building. I think I've seen one time where the elevator had more than the 4 person limit, and I asked people to step out and they didn't, but that's the only time I've seen it. So it's working well. At the end of the day, I think there's some congestion with employees, but other than that, we don't have a problem with the public coming in.
That's good to hear. Well, thank you for being so innovative that everybody else will follow your footsteps. That's really good to know.
Thanks.
Okay, Madam Chair, we are open for any questions that you might have.
Okay, commissioners or Staff, do you have any questions? I don't see any hands raised at this time.
Madam Chair,
Commissioner
Commissioner Baydun,
Baydoun?
I have a question. Good
Yes.
afternoon, Mr. Sabri. How are
Good
you?
afternoon, Commissioner Baydoun.
Obviously, these are difficult times for all of us, and it affects all of the parts of the county government. Before the pandemic, you have identified about 300 or 350 homeowners who were delinquent on their taxes, and there was a campaign to try to reach out to those people to help them save their homes. If I remember correctly, the amount of money that they owed was under $1,000. I don't know what happened on that front, and do you expect that you would start foreclosing again, or the tax foreclosure will be again next year early, or any thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, the individuals you're referring to, we had about 345 people that were identified during the show cause hearings as owing
Yes.
less than $1,000. And well, with our partners in the Financial Empowerment Center, Wayne Metro Community Action Agency, we referred them, those individuals, to Wayne Metro. And Wayne Metro received a grant from one of our banks, which was designed to help taxpayers who were about to get foreclosed. And the bank donated $300,000 to this effort.
Oh, okay.
And we were able to get all those individuals out of foreclosure and through a matching program that Wayne Metro designed, so that the taxpayers would have to contribute something, a match to what they were receiving. And this seemed to work well. So we have also, Wayne Metro received a little more than $500,000 from CARES Act funding. And they were able to use some of that money to help taxpayers who would have gotten foreclosed this upcoming year, who had fallen out of their payment plan. So we have been blessed to get some additional funding outside of government, outside of our government funding that we normally would, like Step Forward and so forth, additional funding to help individuals.
Mr. Sabri, do you have like an approximate number of properties that would have been foreclosed on if it wasn't for the pandemic, that were deferred because of this pandemic this year in 2020?
We've had that number. I don't remember what it was. I don't remember what that number was. Those who would have been foreclosed and because of 17 taxes, and those that got deferred. I don't have that number handy, but I can get it to you.
That's fine. Okay. Thank you, Haj. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Thank you. Chair Bell?
Thank you. I just want to give a comment as a resident who had to go to the treasurer's office and the register of deeds office. It was a very smooth operation, not crowded at all. I was able to handle my business in less than an hour. Majority of that was me standing in the wrong line. But once I got in the right line, I was able to go through and handle my business. So I just want to attest that all of the safety precautions are in place. There's no crowding. It's very smooth when you're handling your business at both the register of deeds and the treasurer's office. So I wanted to commend the treasurer for that. And one more thing, Mr. Treasurer, you made mention, I guess Mark might get into this a little bit further, that you said there was a decrease in one of your line items that shouldn't have been decreased.
Yes, Madam Chair. And I'll let LaShonda Thomas talk about that. It was in our forfeiture foreclosure fund. She can, LaShonda, would you address that?
Yes, thank you very much. So I have actually been discussing that with Kevin and with Huey, and it's going to be part of their technical adjustment that will take place next week that Kevin spoke up earlier. So I think we're going to be good.
Okay.
Okay, great. I just wanted to make sure that we were all in accordance that whatever we needed to have was going to get corrected before we approve the budget.
Yeah, and this is Kevin. It has no general fund impact. It's in the DTRF program funds. So.
Okay, great.
All right,
Thank
thank
you,
you.
Kevin. One more question, Mr. Treasurer. I'm sorry, I had to step away, and I apologize if you answered this. But is there an anticipated amount that the general fund will be receiving from the treasurer's office from the delinquent tax fund?
Well, we had budgeted the 17 million for the budget, the year that's just about to end. That money will be transferred sometime between now and December. And then we're budgeting, projecting another $30 million for this year's budget, upcoming budget, starting October 1st, which if we have it, if it's available, it'll be transferred sometime between September 30th, 2021 and December of 2021. And the reason I say if it's available is because we don't know with all of the litigation going on regarding this Raffaele case.
Right.
We don't know what funds will be available at this time next year.
Okay, and since you brought that up, do we have? I thought it was going to be in court this week or sometime soon for the judge to determine if it'll be back taxes or would it be going forward. Do you have any idea when that decision will be made?
Well, there was a hearing this week on class certification. Judge Kenny heard the case and said he'll give a written decision in 3 weeks. And there's some other motions that we filed, that Wayne County's attorneys have filed. I think they filed them just this week, or they're going to file them this week, which the court will be addressing those in the next few weeks.
Okay,
So
that's very important
Yes.
to how we operate, not only in Wayne County, but all the counties across the state. So we look forward to hopefully what we will call a favorable decision. So thank you, sir.
All right. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm sure you will keep us up to date on any developments on that.
Yes, certainly will.
Especially the chair of the commission.
Yes.
Commissioner Baker McCormick and then Commissioner Anderson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to clarify, and maybe I didn't hear your comments about the foreclosures. We stopped all foreclosures in 2020. How long does that last? Is it up in January or in December, or when do we resume?
The judge gave an extension to March 31st, 2021. And that's when the extension was to. Now we oftentimes we have people contest the foreclosures, and a lot of their cases go on until May, the middle of May, which would at that time we get a final judgment of foreclosure. So,
okay, and in the meantime, although you aren't able to foreclose, there is interest and penalties accumulating. That's that correct?
That's correct.
Okay, and is there any advertisement to that effect? Because I know we put out there that there's no, foreclosures this year, but I want to just make sure that we're also letting people know that if you're not paying your taxes, that you could be foreclosed on.
Yeah, we've been sending out bills and notices all along, so people are getting the mail from us. And also, I've had some TV commercials and radio commercials telling people that even though there's no foreclosures this year, they have to continue to pay in order to avoid foreclosure next year.
Treasurer, if I may add something to that.
Certainly.
We also send out our text messages. We call it the tax messages, and those go out monthly to remind the taxpayers that they need to continue making those payments and that interest and penalties continue to accrue, and that if they stop, they would be subject to foreclosure in 2021. One of the things that I didn't mention earlier, and I should have, that we've put in place is an online system for entering into payment plans. So now taxpayers can, they don't necessarily have to come to our office to initiate the process for entering into a payment plan, they can go online, download the application, enter the information, send it in with the down payment, and we enter them into payment plans. So that's working out well, and we're expanding that shortly to include the interest reduction plans, where the interest would be reduced to 6% for those taxpayers who qualify for the payment plan over a 5-year period. So those are some of the other initiatives we've taken in response to the COVID environment.
Great. Yeah, that was going to be my next questions as to if they don't have to pay. Well, they do need to pay, but because they're not being foreclosed on, is there a way that, you know, they can still make payment arrangements around that? So, okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Eric, I just a couple of quick things. I wanted to ask, and I'm not sure if John Kravitz would be the one to ask about this, but you mentioned earlier about investment income on funds that the Treasurer's Office has likely to be down. What instruments are we able to use as far as investments with those funds through the year by law? Are we able to get into municipal bonds and things like that? Or is that not feasible for the liquidity?
Well, yes, I'll let John go into a detail, but go ahead, John.
John, are you unmuted?
I don't know, maybe he's having some technical issues, but I can answer your question. Basically, the liquidity issue, first is, we have, we want to make sure our investments are safe, then it's safety, liquidity, and yield. Those are the three in that priority. Maybe, is that John?
I'm gonna go see if I can help him.
Okay, all right. Meantime, I'll kind of give you a summary of what we can do. We do invest in municipal bonds. We do invest in some federal securities, and very low yield, low risk. But we do it. We also have some. I'm sorry.
Treasurer?
Yes. Okay,
Hi,
John.
sorry.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, we're enabled by Public Act 20 to invest in a good variety of investments. So we have mutual money market instruments, bank CDs, commercial paper, treasuries, agencies, municipal bonds. So we spread that out pretty carefully with a good allocation that meets our cash flow needs and takes advantage of the best yields that we can find.
John,
you have an
excuse me.
firm?
Excuse me for 1 minute. John, would you please identify yourself for the record, please?
Yeah, my name is John Kravitz, and I'm the investment manager.
Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Anderson.
John, as the investment director or person, do you use a investment firm or something that makes recommendations, or do you do it by yourself only?
We have about $75 million with Robinson Capital, and they manage most of our fixed income securities, which is the treasuries and agencies. And, so they have up to the minute information with bond buying and that type of information. But any of the other the CDs or municipal bonds, commercial paper, I get information multiple times a day from different brokerage agencies and banks and we make our decisions based on our cash flows.
Okay, and your need for liquidity, I guess, too, right?
Yes, for sure.
Okay.
And I just want to point out that since COVID, the Treasury has lowered interest rates probably 90 to 95%. And in today's Wall Street Journal, they indicated that for the next minimum 2 to 3 years, they see no reason to raise interest rates at all. So it looks like the very low interest rates are here for the next couple of years.
Yeah, I heard the same report. It's going to
Where
affect.
we've had,
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
plus we have, we also have a 2-year limit on our, based on our investment policy for investments. So, we have to stay within the guidelines of the investment policy.
The other question I had, Eric, was I recall that early on when you became treasurer, you had had a company come in and do a sort of a top to bottom review of processes and procedures, and to make recommendations on things that you could change and to improve service and efficiency. I just wondered, had you I hadn't heard too much since then, and I just wondered if you could give us a brief, even if you don't do it now, if you could maybe put something together and send it to us, unless you have a highlight of it, maybe right now that you'd like to speak about.
Actually, our Chief Deputy, John Vier Adams, did extensive work with the auditors who we hired to come in and do a process and procedure audit and examination. She can probably give you a summary of it, and then something in writing we can forward to you in the future.
Okay, hi, it's John Vier Adams again. I think what you're referring to initially was the Plant Moran engagement, and Plant Moran came in initially and did an overview of the procedures, the documents, provided a report on what was missing, and then attempted to draft some standard operating procedures. At the end of their engagement, the treasurer brought me in, and I took over from Plant Moran and worked with them for a few months. And then from there, we began to draft standard operating procedure documents. We've gone through every department or unit within the Treasury Department and attempted to document every function, so that not only do we have these to rely upon for compliance, but we can use them for training as well. And we continue to make adjustments to those documents as we find deficiencies. We worked with staff, most of them long-term staff who had expertise in the areas, and they would give us a step-by-step overview of what was required for each job function, basically. And so we have that, and we have most of those completed. There are only a couple of areas where we still have some outstanding that need review and approval. And we are in the process now of doing an annual review, which was something that we put in place, that each process would be reviewed annual to ensure that they're still correct and any adjustments be made. And that's where we are now. We're adjusting some of those, and some we will be adjusting based on some feedback we received recently from our auditors. So we have them. Most of them are done. I would say probably 98% is done, and we will continue to make adjustments as we move forward.
Great.
Thank you.
I commend your office for doing that, Eric. A lot of people are resistant to anything like that, and it should help all of you do a better job for the taxpayers and make your office work even better.
It is helpful, yes.
The last thing is that I have, Eric, for you is legislation. I understand there's legislation that's been introduced in Lansing. I've got a Zoom meeting tomorrow on the Finance Committee of MAC about this legislation, and to deal with the issue of foreclosure settlement. And I just wondered, had you had any input into that? If you know anything about it, what you have opinion of it, I guess I'd like to know too.
Well, all the treasurers in the state have had a chance to weigh in a little bit on this proposed legislation. This legislation is drafted and submitted in order for us to address this post-Raffaele case, how we're going to handle auction proceeds, how we're going to handle the foreclosure process in terms of foreclosing, auctioning property, and the proceeds that go along with it. And that is, and all of the things that are necessary for proceeds to be distributed to former owners and other interested parties. It's very involved, and it's designed to try to protect the county, because we have attorneys that want to go back, 8 years. They want to go back 15 years, and they, and retroactively and give everybody money back. So it's designed to address the lawsuit, the opinion of the Supreme Court in this Raffaelli case. And that's the most important thing.
Is it trying to find a plan for a reasonable plan to pay that money back, address limits on time?
Yes, it's addressing all of that, the procedures, the limits, and all of that. So because the court did not specifically reference the time, retroactivity versus prospectively, they didn't address those things. So this legislation will address a lot of that.
Okay, and you like what you see so far on that?
Yes, most of it, I'm okay with it, yes.
Okay, all right, thank you.
You're
That's
welcome.
all I have, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I sat in on your meeting last week, your monthly meeting, and I learned a lot, and I commend you for holding that for the public, and especially the help that the constituents will be getting who are in jeopardy of being foreclosed upon or going into the process. So I thank you, and I look forward to some more of those. I don't think people really realize that they need to go to their local entities in order for them to get the low income designation before you could actually help them.
Right, the exemptions you're talking about, right? Yes.
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 So I think that's something that really, really needs to be hit home. So if you do any ads or anything like that, it would be really good to clarify that as well. Do you know, Eric, if all of our local communities give exemptions?
All the local communities have to have some type of exemption program,
Okay,
but only 17 communities are participating in the pay-as-you-stay program.
okay.
Yeah.
Do you know if Lincoln Park is one?
You know what? I'm not sure, but I can let you know.
Could you send us that list
I'll
so
send you
that
a
way
list,
to
yeah.
all of our commissioners, so that way
Sure.
we know which of us have to go to our local communities to edge them on a little bit.
Okay, we'll get a list of all the commissioners today.
Thank you very much.
You're
Mr.
welcome.
Mark Abbo?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Sabri, just a couple of quick questions. In addition to the pooled cash owned by the county, and my understanding, I've seen it throughout the years, has generally been in the range of maybe around $400, $500 million. Those monies that we're invested, you're investing those as well as the collections that we have periodically on delinquent taxes. Is that correct? That's correct?
I think we invest all the money that we have. We don't leave any money except some money that has to be liquid. I mean, we're paid to do payroll and so forth. We have what we call Michigan Class. It's a cooperative liquid asset system that we invest with, and that means you can put the money in and take it out at any time without penalty. So a lot of our money is put in what they call Michigan Class. It's a cooperative investment. There's no penalty for pulling the money out, and we get it. Nobody's getting a decent rate today for anything, but John, what he'll do is take the money and put it in there. If we need it in the short term, we're still going to get something as an investment.
In the past, I recall that the yield on some of the pooled cash money was below 1%, and you were able to increase it to above that, well above that. I think it was about 1.2. So are we back down below 1%? Do you know what the yield is right now?
For sure. I mean, we were lucky the other day to get, I think it was 23 basis points, 0.23% on a new investment. So that's pretty much, and they're dropping even farther. I saw something today, 0.07% for commercial paper with a $10 million minimum. So even a couple of weeks ago, Bank of America had negative CD rates. Of course, we'd never do that, but it's just an indication of, I mean, the rates that we have stuff that's maturing that was at like maybe 2.5%. We're lucky to get 0.25, 0.30, somewhere in there. So as I said before, rates are down probably a good 90+% since the beginning of the year.
So we're actually expecting a yield of around 1/4, 1%.
Well, that's about what the average is now. But we still have stuff maturing that's close to 2%, maybe even more. But as that matures and we go to buy new stuff, we're going to see significant differences. But most of the pool funds, 0.02%. Up to 0.10%, just hardly anything at all we're getting on those.
So last year with the DTANs, we issued, my recollection is about $170 million in DTANs. And with the reduction in tax collections, it's probably going to be the first time in a long time where the DTANs issuance is significantly higher than it had been in the past. Do we expect this rate to work in our favor on the issuance of the DTANs?
It did this year. The rate on the DTANs, they priced it, based on the LIBOR, which is the indicator. But, last year they were, about let me see what the rates were. They're about 1.1%, 2.4%, and 2.5%. And this year we're looking at, a little over 1% or so. So it did act in our favor this year when we issued the bonds.
Mm-hmm. Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I don't see any other hands up. Anyone else like to ask a question of our treasurer? Anything else you would like to add, Eric, before we let you go?
No, nothing else. Just that as we get more information about programs and things that taxpayers can take advantage of, we will share them with the commission. And we invite you to participate with us on our monthly meetings or anything that we do as well. If you have community meetings and Zoom meetings and you want someone from the treasurer's office to participate, just let us know, because we have a history of going out, and even though now we don't go out in person, we'll do it through the Zoom meetings. We're glad to do that.
That's really great. That brings me to the last question about the Zoom meetings. Do you give that as an option for people to do that as well as a face-to-face meeting instead of them coming into the office for appointments? Could they make a Zoom meeting?
Well, we haven't done that yet, but as we get closer to the show cause hearing time, if people want to do that, we can do that. We have a Zoom account in our office, so we can always do that if they want to see our face. Otherwise, they can just call us on the phone and we'll talk to them on the phone.
Yeah. I just wondered. I have become so accustomed to this. I really like it. Alrighty. Well, thank you very much. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you as we adjust your budget with the rest of it, probably by the end of Tuesday, hopefully.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Commissioners, Madam Chair. Have a great weekend.
You too.
You too.
Mr. Abel, are you all done? Are you all set?
I'm all set. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Alrighty. Next item, please.
Item D, such other matters as may properly be submitted before the committee.
I have none. Anyone else? Next.
Item E, public comments. There have been no emails received.
Okay, and could you unmute everyone, please?
Everyone has been unmuted.
Anyone from the public wishing to comment? Do so now. Anyone from the public wishing to comment? And I will ask one more time. Anyone from the public wishing to comment at this time? I hear none. We have no emails, and I talked to a few people, or at least one person in chat, and had given answers, and she was satisfied. So Andrew Candrivas, okay, he muted himself. Alrighty, well, the next item then.
Item F, adjournment.
So move, Madam Chair. Scott.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor, say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Then motion carries. Have a good weekend, everybody, and see you on Monday.
Resources into those families that we
Me
have.
too.